6-7 is about inverse relations and functions. Problem 2 says, what's the inverse of y equals x squared minus 1? This should be a relatively simple problem. All you do to find inverses is switch y and x. So what do I mean? Well, the function is y equals x squared minus 1, so the inverse is going to be x equals y squared minus 1, and now you just solve for y. So how do I do that? I add 1. I get x plus 1 equals y squared. Square root both sides. My inverse is y equals the square root of x plus 1. And because you took the square root, it should be plus or minus. Consider the following: f of x equals the square root of x minus 2. What are the domain and range? Well, again, we've talked about this. The domain, because there's a radical, I've got to take what's underneath it and set it greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because you can't have anything less than 0 in the radical. So add 2. My domain is x greater than or equal to 2. Now, range is a little bit trickier. There's not really a telltale sign to do it. But because that we're talking about a square root, obviously you can never get a negative 2 from a square root of anything. So again, my range then is going to be y is greater than or equal to 0 because of the square root. What is f in negative 1? That is the inverse of f of x. So again, you just take and switch the y and x. Well, you have that f of x. You don't really have a y, but good thing for us, we could just substitute a y in for f of x, square root of x minus 2. So now, to write the inverse, just go ahead and switch. I end up with x equals the square root of y minus 2. Now solve. Well, let's get rid of the square root first. Square it. I get x squared equals y minus 2. Add 2, I get y equals x squared plus 2. Then you really should rewrite it as f to the negative 1, or the inverse of f of x equals x squared plus 2. That is the right way to go ahead and write that. The domain of the inverse is the same as the range of the regular. So the domain here of this particular function is x greater than or equal to 2. I'm sorry, x greater than or equal to 0. I apologize. Okay. The range, however, is like the domain. So my y is greater than or equal to 2 is my range. Problem 6, they give you the function for f of x 1 over x minus 1. What's the inverse? Well, again, substitute your y in. Y equals 1 over x minus 1. Switch x and y. So x equals 1 over y minus 1. Solve for x. Solve for y. So again, we can always cross multiply here. We get x times y minus 1 equals 1. Divide by x to get rid of that x. So you get y minus 1 equals 1 over x. Now just go ahead and add 1. I get y equals 1 over x plus 1. Now, what's f following f inverse of 1? Well, my original equation, again, was this. My f inverse, remember, this would have been the right way to write it. Okay, so my f following f inverse of 1, I'm going to take 1 and plug it into my inverse first. So 1 over 1 plus 1 gives me 2. Now I'm going to take that 2 and plug it into my f. So 1 over 2 minus 1, which gives me 1. Now let's plug 1 into f first. So first thing is 1 over 1 minus 1. Well, what happens there? Since you're dividing by 0, that's undefined. So f inverse following f at 1 does not exist.